The following video contains massive spoilers for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Go read the books already. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is upon us, and I, for one, couldn't be happier. I mean, just look at me there. While the first 3 seasons of this series are set up, adapting the 3 Dunk and Egg novellas, The Hedge Knight, The Sworn Sword, and The Mystery Knight, what comes after Season 3 is anyone's guess. According to showrunner Ira Parker, he, George R.R. Martin, has shared with me about 10 to 12 more little outlines for books, for novellas, taking Dunk and Egg all the way through their life. Right now, we're focused on 1, and we'll see how the world responds to that. We're making 2 at the moment. Hopefully, everybody likes it and we get to keep doing these. Certainly I love doing it. I love writing in this world, and it's a wonderful story. So I hope we get to make as many of these as possible. Writing on his Nada blog in January 2025, author George R.R. Martin stated, "And once I finish The Winds of Winter, I will need to get hopping on The Village Hero and all the other tales that await the lads. Don't worry, I am sure you folks will remind me." And in an even older post from 2015, when answering a fan question on just how many Dunk and Egg novellas there would be, George stated, "I do have notes, and fairly specific ideas for a number of them. There's the one set in the north that people have been calling the Shewolves of Winterfell, though that will not actually be the title. And after that, or maybe before, if I jump around in time, there will be the Village Hero, the Sellsword, the Champion, the Kingsguard, the Lord Commander, and several more in between." So, we're looking at anywhere from 13 to 15 possible Dunk and Egg novellas, including the 3 that are already published, taking us from Dunk and Egg's first meeting at Ashford Meadow in 209 AC, up until the events of Summerhall in 259 AC. Half a century of unwritten history just waiting to be told. Fire and Blood ends with the regency of King Aegon III coming to a close in 136 AC, and our main series begins in 298. So 50 years with Dunk and Egg will do a great job of filling in the 100+ years George has left largely unfilled in the timeline, with only the World Book giving us tidbits of tantalizing information that needs to be expanded on. And just what kinds of shenanigans these 2 can get up to in those 5 decades together is something I want to look at. Because while the stories are yet to be written, we are given little bits of information of events yet to come that may await Dunk and Egg in their future travels. And so, I want to take a look at 3 possible future Dunk and Egg placeholder titles, the Shewolves of Winterfell, the Sellsword, and the Village Hero, and lay out what I feel are strong plot lines for them to follow. This is a huge ball of tinfoil I'm dropping here, nothing concrete, but I will be using information we've already been given in published materials, be they already published novellas, the main series, and the World Book, to lay out why I think these ideas would make for good Dunk and Egg tales. They aren't outlandish, they fall within the years of blank history that need coverage, they build on already established names, places, and plot threads, and they provide a whole host of conflicts that still fall within the purview of a hedge knight and his princely squire. Tell me what you think of these ideas in the comments below, and let me know if these tinfoil theories are that good Reynolds Wrap quality, or if they're dollar store junk. The Shewolves of Winterfell. Potential conflict? Dagon Greyjoy. That Dagon Greyjoy wants for hanging, eh? But who's to hanging? Dagon Greyjoy, the Last Reaver, is a name that looms large in Ironborn history. While near a century has passed since he first came upon the Seastone chair, tales of Lord Dagon are still told to this day. Old women on Fair Isle frighten their grandchildren with tales of him, while the Ironborn still speak of him in awe and name their children after him, such as the characters Dagon Cod and Dagon the Drunkard, a cousin to Asha and Theon Greyjoy. The rise of Dagon Greyjoy in the years following the Great Spring Sickness lead to Lord Baron Stark making common cause with Casterly Rock to war against him. And in The Mystery Knight, Sir Duncan the Tall talks of heading up to Winterfell to take service with Lord Baron, as he essentially is calling the banners in the north. Egg and I have a long journey before us. We're headed north to Winterfell. Lord Baron Stark is gathering swords to drive the Krakens from his shores for good. Too cold up there for me, said Sir Maynard. If you want to kill Krakens, go west. The Lannisters are building ships to strike back at the Iron Men on their home islands. That's how you put an end to Dagon Greyjoy. Fighting him on land is fruitless. He just slips back to the sea. You have to beat him on the water. Direct comparisons are made to Dagon Greyjoy in the main series with the crowning of King Euron Greyjoy. After being made aware of the Ironborn raids currently happening in the Reach, Cersei Lannister states, "The Iron Men have not dared raid the Reach since Dagon Greyjoy sat the Seastone chair. Why would they do so now? What has emboldened them?" Their new king. Qyburn stood with hands hidden up his sleeves. Lord Baelin's brother, the Crow's Eye, he is called. Fitting in that Euron and the other Greyjoy characters are all direct descendants of the last Reaver. And while sailing east to Meereen, Lord Captain Victarion Greyjoy ruminates on the actions of his great-grandfather. "My brother Baelin was a great man, but I shall do what he could not. The Iron Islands shall be free again, and the old way will return. Even Dagon could not do that." Almost 100 years had passed since Dagon Greyjoy sat the Seastone chair, but the Ironborn still told tales of his raids and battles. In Dagon's day, a weak king sat the Iron Throne, his rheumy eyes fixed across the narrow sea where bastards and exiles plotted rebellion. So forth from Pike, Lord Dagon sailed to make the Sunset Sea his own. He bearded the lion in its den and tied the direwolf's tail in knots, but even Dagon could not defeat the dragons. But I shall make the Dragon Queen mine own. She will share my bed and bear me many mighty sons. The weak king in question was King Aerys I Targaryen, though the rheumy eyes in question would be those of Bloodraven. One red rheumy eye and 1,000 others. Despite knowing full well how to beat Dagon Greyjoy, Bloodraven has placed more attention on the Blackfire threat across the Narrow Sea. As such, Dagon Greyjoy is a problem that has been allowed to fester and grow out of control, with the North, the Westerlands, and the Reach largely being left on their own to handle the problem. It is not until the full weight of the crown is placed alongside their efforts that the last Reaver is finally put down. An action, I argue, may not come until after the more martial Prince Maekar takes the throne following the death of his inactive elder brother. Prince Maekar Targaryen shares many things in common with Stannis Baratheon. Both are overshadowed by their more charismatic elder brothers. Both are passed over for the role of Hand of the King. While Maekar broods at Summerhall, Stannis broods at Dragonstone. And both keep a sorcerer very close to them. Stannis by keeping Melisandre at his side, and Maekar by keeping Bloodraven on as his own hand. In his role as Master of Ships, Stannis Baratheon takes the fight to the Greyjoys out on open water during the Greyjoy Rebellion. He defeats Victarion Greyjoy after trapping him in the Straits of Fair Isle. Stannis' victory over Victarion is what allows Robert's forces to sail west unimpeded, and later, Stannis subdues Great Wick in his brother's name. Given these similarities, it seems that Maekar would finally be the one to push Bloodraven into finally doing something about the Dagon Greyjoy problem. Given this timeline, Dagon Greyjoy would have had a good 12 years during the reign of Aerys I of making himself a menace, which lines up well for Dunk and Egg, whose journey to Winterfell would take some time. Too much time, in fact, as in classic comedy fashion, I envision Dunk and Egg arriving at Winterfell after Lord Baron has already left. They have missed the boat on the Ironborn battle, and arrive in Winterfell to find only women, children, and the elderly, while all the men of fighting age have started marching to the northern shorelines with their liege lord. But this need not be a complete loss for them, as they could take service with the Lady of House Stark as a household guard while the men are away. And as time passes, Dunk and Egg will come to find that this Lady Stark, as well as the other women running the show in the absence of their husbands and sons, are just as ferocious as the wolves aiming to take down the Krakens. The Shewolves of Winterfell, as it were. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to anyone in the north, a group of Ironborn are making their way to what they believe to be an unguarded Winterfell. The northern towns of Sea Dragon Point and Cape Kraken have changed hands between the North and the Iron Islands so many times in the past that the people now living there have created a culture and identity blending the two and distinctly their own. Perhaps some, who are more ironborn than Northmen, have leaked information to Lord Dagon about Baron Stark's movements. And now the last Reaver views Winterfell as a sitting duck full of women and children to make off with. As this Ironborn contingent begins to lay siege to Winterfell's walls, it is now up to Dunk and Egg to help fortify the castle and fight alongside the brave women and civilians in pushing back this raid. Perhaps with a series of Home Alone-style booby traps, though less paint cans and more vats of boiling oil being tossed over the walls. Loras Tyrell knows what I'm talking about. Right, Loras? Loras? You'll get it. There may even be a connection to the main series through one of its older characters. In the Mystery Knight, a young Walder Frey is present to the events at White Walls. Depending on what year of Dagon's reign George would have this story take place, a similar thing could occur with the current husband of Asha Greyjoy, Eric Ironmaker. Eric had been a great man in his day, a fearless reaver who could boast of having sailed with her grandsire's grandsire, that same Dagon Greyjoy whom Dagon the Drunkard had been named for. It is possible that the now 88-year-old Eric, though very young at the time, may have been present to such events. Men like Dalton Greyjoy, the Red Kraken, began rowing with Ironborn crews at age 5 and reaving at age 10, so it is possible that Eric may have been a rower or a cabin boy for Dagon Greyjoy, perhaps even a member of the raiding party, following alongside his father or an older brother, or maybe even Lord Dagon himself, if he deigned to make an appearance. The Sellsword. Potential conflict, Bittersteel, and the Golden Company. The Mystery Knight takes place during the year 212 AC. According to the World Book, the founding of the Golden Company happens in the same year. Much noise is made by the Blackfyre conspirators that Daemon II did not have the namesake sword Blackfyre, something they believe is a sign that Bittersteel doesn't have confidence in the whole affair. Perhaps Bittersteel is hanging onto the sword in order to give it to his younger brother Hagon, whom Bittersteel favors and will back in the future Third Blackfyre Rebellion. Or maybe Bittersteel no longer has the sword to give. A potential plot point of the Sellsword I envision happening is the rise of Bittersteel's Golden Company, and word of this reaching back to Bloodraven. Given their rivalry and hatred of one another, it seems natural that the Lord Hand would be keeping tabs on his bitter half-brother. And that man amassing what essentially is a personal army would be very big news. But where does such an army come from? Where is the coin for such a project? How does a bastard living in exile in a foreign land who, up until this point, has been selling his sword and services to other free companies, get the capital for this? And how does a newly formed company, with no history, no renown, and no wins under its belt, acquire talent? Well, we've been told that the price of a Valyrian steel sword can buy an army, and a Valyrian steel sword is missing, while the man who was last seen holding it now has an army. And maybe, speaking purely in terms of business, after selling such a sword, now has the means to offer competitive salaries and benefits to pick up new talent. Much the way that Daenerys and Viserys must sell their mother's crown in order to survive, the sale of Blackfyre may have been made in order to keep the dream alive. Yes, I present the story of the Sellsword being about the founding of the Golden Company, the pawning of Blackfyre providing the seed money to start it, with the belief that one day, much like the Iron Throne itself, the sword would be reclaimed, and the rumblings that this new threat is raising across Essos, the Narrow Sea, and in Bloodraven's one-track mind. But all is not lost. Brynden Rivers has a man for the job, along with his plucky squire, and there just so happens to be a connection in Lys. After the Hedge Knight, Prince Aerion Brightflame is exiled to Lys. His time there may have led to the siring of some bastards, but what is known is that he did take up service with the Second Sons, revealed to us readers by Brown Ben Plum when Tyrion Lannister is about to add his own name to the roster. The names of every man to serve with us are written here. When they joined, where they fought, how long they served, the manner of their deaths, all in the book. You will find famous names in here, some from your 7 kingdoms. Aegor Rivers served a year with us before he left to found the Golden Company. Bittersteel, you call him. The Bright Prince, Aerion Targaryen, he was a second son, and Roderick Stark, the Wandering Wolf, him as well. So Aerion may be the plug across the narrow sea for Dunk to meet. Like a buddy cop drama where both cops in question absolutely hate one another. And the rookie hates the other cop. And the other cop hates the rookie.
You son of a bitch.
Kinda like that, but the insults are real and lead to a fist fight. But after that, the differences must be set aside, and the focus placed on the bigger problem. Bittersteel. What is he up to? How big of a threat is this new Golden Company? And just where exactly is Blackfire? My guess is the Sea Lord of Braavos has it until some Pentoshi cheesemonger gets his hands on it. But just like with some stolen dragon eggs over a century earlier, he'll never tell. The village hero. Village in question? Pennytree. Potential conflict? Blackwood-Bracken feud. When Dunk is thinking of a knightly name to call himself, one of his thoughts is Sir Duncan of Pennytree, in honor of his mentor Sir Arlen. He then decides against it when he remembers that he has never been to Pennytree, nor even knows where it is. Egg, with his knowledge of geography, would be able to tell Dunk that the village of Pennytree is in the Riverlands. Specifically, Pennytree sits along a stream known as the Widow's Wash, between 2 grassy hills known as the Teats. Barba's Teats, if you're asking the Brackens, in honor of Barba Bracken, King Aegon the Unworthy's 5th mistress and mother of Bittersteel. In Blackwood territory, they are known as Missy's Teats, in honor of Melissa Blackwood, the Unworthy's 6th mistress and mother of Bloodraven. Pennytree has the unfortunate luck to be nestled in between the Teats. Right there. Between the Teats. We just might have to go in for a closer look and... Hey! Did I catch you simping over Pennytree? Anyway, the areas surrounding it have changed numerous times, but Pennytree has been a royal fiefdom. What about this village here between the Teats? Jamie tapped the map with a gilded knuckle. Pennytree. That was ours once too, but it's been a royal fief for 100 years. Leave that out. We ask only for the lands stolen by the Blackwoods. Your Lord Father promised to restore them to us if we would subdue Lord Tytos for him. It makes sense that in their travels, Sir Duncan would want to visit the birthplace of his mentor. Perhaps while there, he could visit Sir Arlen's sister and honor her for her brother as well as for her son, Roger, whom Dunk feels he replaced in Sir Arlen's stead. And while paying this visit, perhaps something happens that causes the old chestnut that is the Bracken-Blackwood feud to burst. One incident occurs as anyone's guessed, but as we know, it doesn't take much to get Blackwoods and Brackens to kill one another. Maybe a Bracken pig escapes from its pen and gets slaughtered by a Blackwood who happens to be passing through Pennytree. Something minor, you know? Something stupid. Something that could in no possible way ever lead to armed conflict between 2 major powers. Whatever the case, Pennytree is now caught in the crosshairs of this, and it is up to Dunk and Egg to bring hostilities to a peaceful end. Or at least as bloodless of an end as a Bracken-Blackwood dispute can be. And perhaps, for a change of pace, it is Egg who becomes infatuated with a local girl. Maybe the daughter of Lord Blackwood catches his eye and he becomes smitten. Or maybe that's reaching too far. I mean, a Blackwood getting together with a royal princeling? A potential Blackwood queen in the future? That's just gonna cause all kinds of problems down the line. Do it, Egg. Do it. In all seriousness, Egg will meet Bethany Blackwood, and a relationship will blossom from it. Given the running theme of Dunk getting caught up in the local politics of wherever he happens to be, a Blackwood-Bracken conflict does create great potential for that meeting to occur. And just as Bethany Blackwood must be introduced to readers more fully than the few mentions she has been given in the World Book, so too must characters like Bittersteel, Dagon Greyjoy, Danelle Lothston, Baron Stark, Gerald Lannister, Shiera Seastar, and other names who have rung throughout history but have yet to truly show their impact on page. These are just a few ideas that help fill in those gaps, scaffolding added to the bare-bones architecture we've been given, which, with any luck, will be further built on by George and the minions he has hired to help him keep track of his expansive world. So far, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has done great with the source material and fleshing it out further with details that make the world feel lived in and real. I can't say for certain just how Ira Parker and his cast and crew will continue Dunk and Egg's story after the Mystery Night, but I do look forward to seeing it. Thank you for watching. Tell me what you think of these ideas for future Dunk and Egg tales, and tell me what other events you'd like to see covered during their lifetime. And don't jump straight to Summerhall, I will cry. I'll be back with more videos, so be sure to like and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss anything. Until next time, support your local library.